After a very long hiatus, we have finally returned with a new episode of the world's okayest mountain bike podcast.
We're back.
We're finally back. Real
Woo.
quick, Ryan, should we touch on why we haven't really done one in like 4 months?
Ah, ah,
Why haven't we done
I
one
don't
besides adult life chaos?
know.
I don't
Yeah,
even think it's so much of that. It's just, well, I guess that is it, but it really hasn't been that much going on in bike world.
Kind
not
of.
really.
I mean, kind of. We just unveiled a new bike park in St. Charles like 2 weeks ago.
That's true. This is
That we
true.
did a lot of racing this summer, but well, when was the last one? May? April?
I don't even remember. That's how
I
long it's
don't even.
been.
This was a
Yeah, it's
weird
been too long.
season. Like Clint is in the throes of having 3 kids completely. Ryan took a new job and got promoted, and I left a company and started an entirely new career amongst general summer shenanigans. Like the three of us have been going through some transitionary periods here for the past 4 to 6 months for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
to even kind of put that into a little bit of context, which when we do our BT preview, Ryan will, I'm sure, talk about this more, but I even told Hannah and I were talking last night or the night before, and I said, I'm really trying to meet my goal this year because I have a feeling I'm just not going to be able to pursue it like this for a while after this year, just because kids are getting older, they're getting busier. I need to not disappear every Saturday for like 7 hours for a couple months leading up to it. So yeah, we'll get to that, but let's not talk about those sort of things that I wouldn't call them depressing because they're for good reasons. But Kyle still has somehow managed to take the biggest mountain bike trip I think that any of us have ever taken by far. Uh,
Oh yeah.
he just got back from. So Kyle, tell everybody where you went and how you have no good friends that went with you, even though you invited everybody.
That's true. So about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, all of the whole enchilada videos started appearing on the internet. It was just like, for whatever reason, the whole enchilada trail had garnered a bunch of internet interest, both with Hannah Finchamp's FKT, fastest known time on the whole enchilada, which is the climb and the descent.
You mean
And
Hannah
then,
Otto?
oh yeah, I guess she's Hannah Otto now. Is she Hannah? Is it
Yep.
Finchamp's her maiden name? All right.
Is it?
Anyways,
I don't know.
big Hannah fans. Being Missouri folks and all. Congratulations to her. But anyway, so for whatever reason, that was a trail that I had never had access to. So I've ridden in Whistler, I've ridden in Tahoe, I've ridden in Bentonville, and I've done a bunch of these really neat rides. And so I've never had a chance to go anywhere near the desert, so Moab or out west or anything like that. And I've never been further west on a bike, except for California, than Colorado. So for my 40th birthday, I said, you know what, I'm going to plan a Moab trip. And none of my friends have ever been to Moab either. And I thought to myself, I don't really have a good reason to go to Moab. It's a very, very difficult trip to do because you can't fly into Moab, and no bike trip is easy, especially if you're transporting 4 to 6 bikes. So I planned this trip. Yeah, like I don't know. I started talking about it about 2 years ago, and I said, well, for my 40th, let's do Moab. And those of you who are semi close to me probably all got an invite to either a group or a event on Facebook where I said, hey, it's my 40th. I've never had a good reason to go to Moab. Here's your reason to plan your family's Moab trip. Here's kind of the agenda. And it finally dwindled down, and I had like one or two ride or die homies that were going to try to make it. And ultimately, all of my normal friend group, everybody for one reason or other, due to injury, work related event, different types of things, had things scheduled that they wouldn't work. And so I ended up doing the trip with my parents, my family, my 4 year old, my 9 year old, and then I did have a good internet buddy of mine, I guess you would say, and his 2 kids come up from Silverton, Colorado. So I never met Cliff or his kids, as we call them, the Pinto Project in person. They were always just internet buddies because he has kids that rip on bikes and do big mountain bike stuff for kids. And so I got to meet Cliff, Griffin, Talon, and that was my first time meeting them. But other than that, yeah, all my normal friends all had reasons to not be able to make it, and I understand completely because it's just a monstrous trip. It is
Hey,
18
hey,
hours
Kyle.
each way. Yeah.
Kyle, I would have made it if you didn't do it during school year. Me and my kids, we would have just loaded up and been there.
Yeah, and
Whew.
that was another weird part of it. And we know that too because the issue is that in Moab you have a very small window of time in which there is not snow at Burrow Pass and it's not 100 degrees in Moab. So like the snow melts up at Burrow, which is the highest point of the whole Enchilada ride that you can get to, that you ride to. That is essentially summit in the La Salle Mountains where that ride starts at.
Yeah.
And it melts in July, but all the way through July, all the way through August, and all the way through September, the temperatures in the valley down in Moab are in the hundreds all day, every day. And so
Oh yeah.
you go from snow to 100, and so there's like a 2 or 3 week window where the temps drop to the 70s in Moab, and it hasn't started snowing yet in Burrow. And so that there was no way to do it not during the school year to catch that very small window of time.
Well, I'm calling bull crap on my own statement. That's not why I didn't go.
It's dude, it's a
I'd like
ridiculous
to
thing.
use that as I'd like to use that as an excuse, Kyle. But you know my situation, so.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
it's a
but
big trip, and there's no easy way to do it. So I was surprised that anybody said they wanted to, other than like, yeah, because like, let's be honest, getting to Colorado in the summer is fun, but it's still only 12 hours. Like, picture
yep,
driving to Denver and then having 6.5 more hours to go, and through
yep.
some pretty desolate parts of the world.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised I thought it was
it's a
farther
big
than
trip.
that, to be honest with you. I thought it would take you longer to get there than that.
I mean, after you pee and you know what I mean, and
Oh
stop
yeah.
and hotel. I mean, it is. I mean,
Yeah, of
you're
course. Yeah.
21 hours in a car. Yeah.
So if we have time, we'll get to some of the other details, but just for time's sake, let's do this journalism style and start with the lead. We'll do the inverted pyramid. Like, tell us about the whole enchilada. And I know you took Connor with you. Um, so I think I've seen I saw the video when Hannah auto set the FKT, but really I don't understand like what that trail is. So
So
explain to me, like, I know you shuttled up to somewhere. So like just try to like for 10 minutes, like run us through however many miles of trail you rode.
yeah, so the whole enchilada is a series of trails, and like there's probably a lot. Hopefully, a lot of our listeners have been out to see it and do it, and they might be able to even correct me. But the whole enchilada is a series of trail segments that are all completely different from each other, and it's such a unique ride because you ride through four different ecosystems almost completely from start to finish. It covers 8,000 foot of vert from summit to Moab is 8,000 foot of vert drop. So my Garmin actually showed 7923, and I'll tell you a little bit more why it wasn't quite 8,000. But we, and it's a really unique trail segment because you do start at almost, it's like, I think Summit's 11,200, 11,300, something like that. And you ride through the upper part of the La Salle Mountains, through the evergreens, through the pines, and then you enter into like an aspen forest. So just like beautiful yellows and oranges and white trunk aspen trees, and you do that for like 30 minutes, and then you end up in a desert. Or like an arid environment where you're cutting through just beautiful soil, dirt, single track, bermed corners, and then you dump out into what everybody thinks of when they think of Moab, which is sand and big giant rock slabs. And it's a really unique ride in that you get to ride all of that in one signal segment. So that starts off, you take a shuttle up to Geyser Pass, and then you have about 1,000 foot climb immediately out the door. So you 1,000 foot climb up, and then you get up to Burrow, and then you ride Burrow, Hazard, Kokopelli, LP or UPS, LPS, and then you get into Porcupine Rim Trail and in Porcupine Single Track. And essentially, the entire trail, with the exception of Kokopelli, is all rated a black diamond, like a very honest, like out west black diamond trail. And then the lower porcupine sections are double blacks. And so it's very exposed, like knife edge cliff faces with technical climbing and technical descending on the same trail. And so it gets very sketchy. And I'll tell you more about how we ended up and kind of what we ended up doing there in a minute. But that's the trail. And so my thing that I was most interested in riding out of the entire segment was the upper section. So I wanted to ride Burrow and Hazard really bad. Like it looks beautiful. It is just like upper mountain, gorgeous single track, rocks, roots, trees, creeks, leaves, like everything. It is exactly what I wanted. But that was my main interest was the upper sections, which is why I timed the trip very specifically to make sure that I would have access up to Burrow Pass.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm literally on Trail Forks right now, like following what you're telling me. That is a lot of trail.
It's a lot. So it's 32 miles if you ride back to town. So the whole enchilada technically includes a 5 mile pedal after you ride all of the single track out, and then back to town. And then I think it's 27, 28 miles of actual trail.
Okay. Interesting.
So I'll lead that into my next segment because ideally, what I wanted this trip to be was as you guys all know, 90% of my riding involves one or both of my kids. And I love it. Super blessed to have kids that are interested in riding bikes. My bigger one more than my little one. But I'm super thankful to be able to have kids that want to ride, want to get outside, are interested in riding, and are excited to go ride. However, I don't get many opportunities ever to go out and just ride with my homies. Like most of all of my mountain biking was always been a shared experience, and then with friends, and that was what I enjoyed the most about it. And then since having kids, it was like I was either sneaking in a fitness ride for myself, or I was taking the kids mountain biking. And I really haven't had hardly any opportunity at all. I mean, Clint, when was the last time me and you actually went out and rode together? Was a Bentonville trip in 2019, I think.
Yeah, was that what year that was? That was a long
Yeah,
time
yeah.
ago.
You know, I mean, it's 6, 7 years ago now.
Well, yeah,
So
because I know I have not been to Bentonville since the work on Shepherd Mountain started.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Eh,
and in Ryan, I mean, me and Ryan will catch a very quick single track ride together, but mostly just in support of Granada Bike Shop to do that family ride or the group ride that we do. But like either way, my goal for this trip was to try to get, and I tried to invite as many people as I thought might be able to make it, and hopefully end up with 4 or 5 of them, and just have a big epic day in the mountains with my buddies, and go ride one of the most beautiful trails in the country. And just be able to do it as like a big friend group. And so I knew that that was kind of a pipe dream, and so that what ended up happening was that nobody ended up being able to make it. But what I did, I had a couple of buddies that live in Colorado, like 4 or 5 that are close enough to it that if it could have been a game day decision of, hey, it's Monday night. I'm gonna drive out and stay at your Airbnb Monday, and we'll ride Tuesday, and I'll head home. Like there was a chance that that might happen. So I bought 2 shuttle passes like 5 weeks ago, and just thought surely somebody I can talk somebody into making it, catching a red eye or doing whatever I need to do. Somebody can make it. And as the trip started getting closer, um, I started realizing that that might not happen. And then the one friend that I had was my buddy Cliff Pinto out of Silverton, Colorado, and he is they're a mountain family, and they're just this incredibly capable set of adventurers that live out there, and they have been going to the whole enchilada and riding for a long time. And so he said, "Hey, I can meet you guys out there. We're gonna ride it in a few weeks. Like it'll be my 7 year old's first time doing the whole enchilada." And I thought he was kidding at first because his 13-year-old Griff is a ripper. I mean, like documented top tens, KOMs all over the San Juan Mountains over there in that southern portion of Colorado. And he's fast. I mean, like fast in a way that most of us couldn't even understand what mountain fitness is. And so he said he's bringing his 7 year old out there. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, because it never seemed like a trail a 7 year old could do on a 20 inch. And so he knocked out this whole trail. And then I was like, all right, well, any kid at 7, I don't care how good you are, my 9 year old can keep up with. That's what I thought. And that's where I was wrong, because there's a difference between fitness and mountain fitness. And anyway, so Cliff was the only person that I knew that was locked in. He's like, hey, I got my campsite booked. I booked a shuttle ticket for me and my 2 boys. We'll never see the oldest one. He'll get off the shuttle and we'll never see him to the bottom. So Griffin at 13 will solo ride the whole enchilada. And he solo rides 100 miles a week right now, anyways, up in the San Juan Mountains, either way. So he's used to solo riding and going fast. I was like, all right, well, I guess if it comes down to it, I guess I could just take Connor. Like, I'd rather have this trip be, like a me and my homies. But anyways, like, Connor, as like a worst case scenario, I'd rather take Connor and have an experience with him than just solo ride it. So that's what ended up happening. So we ended up showing up, meeting Cliff and Griff and Talon and riding some dirt jumps with those guys the night before. And I kind of just said, "Hey, what do you think? Do you think Connor can do this?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, he'll be fine. He'll be fine." He's like, "By the way, he's like, I forgot to tell you, Talon's been riding 100 miles of single track and 8,000 foot of climbing a week every week since May." And I was like, "Oh,
Well, let's get to the actual ride here. So you start on this, which so you're riding the trail. First of all, what equipment did you have, and more importantly, if you were to get to go back tomorrow, what would you change? At least like either equipment wise, like bike wise, what you packed, like what would you do differently?
so typical Kyle fashion, I overpacked everything, but I think I was still good. So I did the simple build out was just a general long day on the trail build out, small toolkit. I had a tube, Connor had a tube, flat patch kits, plugs. Nutrition was a big thing, so I had a variation of different things from different brands. I had Cliff Bars, I had Goos, I had gel shot things. I did Scratch Labs carb mix in the bladder. I did 3 liters of water and then a bottle on the bike. Connor did a liter and a half of water with primarily hydration mix, and then a little bit of carbohydrate stuff. The most of the carb mixes are high caffeine. Connor doesn't respond to it well, so I just did a little bit of that in his. I couldn't have feasibly carried much more water. I did my big backpack, so I didn't do my little like BT Epic pack. I did my full size Osprey backcountry pack. Still a bike packing. It wasn't like a backpack. It was like still a bike packing, a biking backpack, with 3 liters of water and then a lot of nutrition. I probably overpacked the nutrition. We did a lot of waffles and stuff.
That's fine. Forget that. Let's talk about the bikes. Let's talk about your
Oh,
bike.
bikes.
That's what I want to
Okay,
know. Bike.
so I got Connor moved over to an enduro casing Kenda tire, and that was the right move, 100%. He's tubeless, so he's set up tubeless. He's fine. My bike, I moved to also an enduro casing front, downhill casing rear tire, and then I did no inserts. I didn't want to deal with it. There was going to be enough climbing. I didn't want to deal with the inserts. Um, and then bike was Santa Cruz Bronson mullet 160, 150. Connor's a 24-inch Tiny Rock with 140, 140 suspension treble.
Okay, so what if you had your choice of, well, I mean, you have several bikes, but I mean, what is like in your mind the best whole enchilada bike for that kind of riding?
So exactly what I wrote. It was funny. Like you guys always laugh at me. I say, best bike ever, haha. But like that was the first place I had ever been yet where I thought to myself, I couldn't picture a better bike for exactly what I was doing. 160 fork, 150 rear with a coil shock. And the bike needed to be something that could be pedaled. It needed to be something that could be efficient because there's still 32 miles of riding and 2,000 foot of vert. So you still have a bike that you have to manage at a fitness level, but you also has to be durable enough to endure you physically, and then also the bike wheels and tires for what the ride was. And it was honest. I mean, it was honest Black Diamond Trail stuff. I mean, it was as chunky and rocky, even on the upper sections, which were primarily dirt, as any bike park I've ever ridden. Really, it was
Really?
a heavy hitting. So it was that very special sweet spot of real deal backcountry mountain biking that you had to have a bike durable enough to do it and comfortable enough to not beat you up while I was doing it, but also pedally.
Like, are we talking like Shepherd Mountain chunky the whole way, or like more?
Yes, but different. The rock content was different. So as rocky as sections of it, but it wasn't loose, shaly, sharp rocks. It was embedded, large embedded rocks. So not as many sharp corners on rocks. Those tire slices I wasn't as worried about, but pinch flats and pinches definitely. And it was as steep as anything as I've ridden at Shepherd. I mean, I got to a point where I was had the brakes overheated and howling, not like squirming like normal squirm sounds, but like actual howling because they were so hot and steaming.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I'll be honest. If I had known what it was going to be and really understood the difficulty of the trail when we dropped into it, there was zero chance I ever would have thought about taking Connor up it.
Okay, so I know you said you guys bailed out a little early or something, but I'm looking at the map and going, how and where would you bail out? If you got
So
started on Porcupine Rim, it looks like you're stuck on it until you get back.
correct. So we bailed out about a mile and a half after the Snotch, which
Okay. Ah, I
so
see.
here, yep,
There's a road, Porcupine Rim Sand Flat Access Road.
yep,
Okay.
exactly. And then that leads into some blues and greens that'll get you out on the other rim of the canyon. But
Okay.
yeah, one sure, and that was it. So that was the decision was that we rode, and Connor impressed me in a way on his riding that I didn't think there was any way he was at that level. Watching him run the pace that he did and in just how steep everything was. He's never seen anything that steep in his life, but his line choice, picking roots and rocks and like picking the smoothest lines through some of these sections was I was just giggling as a proud dad the entire way down because of how smart he was riding and how much speed he was carrying through all these sections. It was very, very close to my comfortable limit for safety for myself, much less him.
So you were also like terrified at the same
Oh
time?
yeah, no, oh yeah, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of sections that get very exposed. So like Upper Burrow isn't bad. There's some of the switchbacks in Upper Burrow that are exposed, but like not they're arrestable falls. Meaning like if you went over the edge on like one of the bench cuts, like you would tumble a little bit, but you wouldn't go like fall off a cliff.
You like
But
wouldn't die.
you
Be
wouldn't
more
die. Yeah,
like
it
you
would
at
just suck.
that enduro in Springfield all the way back in like
Yeah, yeah.
2018 or whatever. Classic.
Exactly like that. So, but he impressed me. He never. I mean, he was rear brake sliding around corners, heavy on the front brakes to get the pivot. I mean, like it was unreal riding. He's never seen anything like that in his life, and he just ate it up. And I was so proud of him. But so I'm watching that, just giggling, and we're going, and there's another big climb in Hazard. So we went up another 600 feet through Hazard, and he's just ripping these bermy single track all the way down. And once we get into I guess it's Cocopelli was super, super fast. I think he hit like 32 miles an hour on Cocopelli. Um, and then we went in and we jump into UPS and LPS. And that's when you start getting into what they call it chunky gnar Moab rock. And it's just big slabby rock sections that you think of when you see Moab. And those are the sections that you see in the videos that start getting very exposed to the cliff face. And there's I mean dozens and dozens of sections where you were within an arm's reach of a 1,000 foot cliff on the other side of it, and there's nothing to save you. I mean, there's no bush, there's no tree, there's no nothing. Like you were just it's you and an arm's length away from the edge of the cliff, and it's brief. And they're all in sections of the trail where it's very controlled, so you're not like descending along it. You know what I mean? You're at like a pedaling pace and sometimes climbing, but still like having your finger slip off a brake or you know what I mean, having like a mechanical could put you in a position to be in a very bad spot. And so eventually I popped in front of Connor and I had him start following me just to give his eyes a visual to make sure that he wasn't looking over the cliff edge. Body follows the head, right? So I had him follow my tire. And then I went every now and then when we would fade away from the cliff edge, I'd have him pop in front of me again. And I started noticing his pace was changing pretty dramatically, and then his line choice was getting lazy. And he was choosing to walk the bike on sections that I'd seen him smash through easily previous in the day. And so now we're teetering on like, I think 3.5 hours or so without a real big break. I was limiting our breaks to 60 seconds. So one of the things that Cliff very brilliantly told me is like, you just got to stay moving. He's like, even if it's slow and you're at a recovery pace, keep the body and the kid moving. He's like, if the kid waits for too long, you'll get into a spot where you can't really recover, and it gets to be a very, 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 very long day. He's like, so just keep moving. So that's what we did. And then finally, we got to a spot where he needed a break. We were both still in full blown jackets at this point, like windproof jackets. So we were getting hot. We're starting to get into the desert. Temps are starting to come up now because it was in the low 40s when we got off the shuttle bus and started climbing. So it was cold up top. And so we sit
Okay.
down. We took about a ten minute break, and I said, "Hey, how are you feeling?" And he kind of just stared at me, and I could tell he was fading. And so we kept riding down to the very beginning of Porcupine, and then there's a right when you start Porcupine, not too far after the beginning of it, I think there's a sign that says this is your last bailout before your only option to finish the trail is down the two most physically demanding and most exposed sections of the trail that you've ridden yet. So we go from double blacks into one blue, or we go from black diamonds into a blue into more black diamonds, and then you hit Porcupine, and it's double blacks the whole way out. And ultimately, it was one of those just backcountry decisions to say, I don't want to really become a statistic, and I think it'd be safest for us to throw in the towel and just take a green and a blue on the way out because we still at that point from
Yeah.
either way, you're not car rescuable. You're still 15 miles before you get to a point where a car can rescue you
Yeah.
safely.
So you took the the access road out, and then did you hit, was it Falcon Flow
We made it to the top of Falcon Flow, and then opted to actually just stay on
on
what
the
do they
road?
call it? Yeah, Sandy Flats or whatever. And it's still
Yeah,
exposed. I mean, like it'd be a scary
Sand
drive.
Flats.
Yep.
Yeah, Sand Flats Road. Okay, gotcha. Um, that still sounds amazing. I mean, I would, if I was you, I think I'd take what you did and bail out a little early with my son and have that memory than, you know, do the whole thing by yourself. Um,
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. It was either that too, and then it was either we were having a very, very, very good day. I mean, both of us just giggling, having a great day, and it was one of those. I could change that by deciding to do porcupine and ruining this in mountain biking for a very long time. Like Connor's good at mountain biking, but he's not great at suffering yet.
yeah, he's still a kid.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
9.
still a kid.
Yeah,
Hey, I'll be 40 in a couple years. Maybe, maybe, maybe you'll get another chance.
redemption. Let's do it.
You, maybe we'll head out there. Um, so I know you all on this trip. I kind of want to talk a little bit about just the logistics of like all the bikes you took, and I know you made a ton of other stops along the way, and so what I'm curious about, because this was, I think, would you do like a 9 day trip or something like that?
Yeah, that's what it
Um,
ended up being.
what I want to know is like if you were gonna go do sort of like this same trip, at least out to Moab again, what would you skip? Like, where did you go? And then what would you either skip or do differently or go somewhere differently if you had a chance to do it all over again?
So logistically, it was a lot. Yeah. So originally, my plan was to bring everybody's trail bike. So mine, Connor's, Lauren's, and Cam's. Cam's is easy. It's a little 16-inch hardtail, so it's not a big deal. But after some recommendations from some friends, because we did want to hit a bike park on the way out in Colorado and a bike park on the way back in Colorado. So Valemont Bike Park and Frisco Bike Park, which are just world-class level bike parks. And I had intended on just riding trail bikes, but my buddy Dan had convinced me that it'd be ridiculous to try to go to either of those bike parks and not bring dirt jumpers. So fair point.
Well, that's good
So we
for
ended up
me to
doing,
know because, you know, I I probably won't this year. I keep saying I'm going to get out to Leadville in the summer because I have a place to stay for free. And Frisco Bike Park's like right on the way. Um, and
yeah.
I was wondering how many bikes would I need to take with me on a trip like that.
So it
So,
depends what you wanted to do. So there's enough fun to be had at Frisco Bike Park, and you could ride the slope style stuff and the dual slalom stuff and enjoy it on a trail bike. But the dirt jumps, the skate park, like it's all just better on a dirt jumper. Same
but
thing with Valemont. Like,
I'm terrible at the super, super steep dirt jump style stuff. So I probably would just leave the dirt jumper at home. Well, no, I wouldn't because Leadville's got a pump track, like a velo asphalt pump track. So I guess I'd take it for that.
yeah, and so does Valemont Bike Park. So Valemont Bike Park's got 5 different things you would enjoy on a dirt jumper, and it's the jumps just feel better. Like I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but the jumps at Valemont and Frisco are just very very natural feeling, even being semi peaky dirt jumps compared to, you know what I mean, like what a mountain bike jump is, like the kind of stuff you're typically uncomfortable with. You would find comfort in these, like you haven't other places, I would say.
Really? They're just
They're
the
very good.
shape, just it puts you over where you need to land, basically.
It does, but then it also kind of teaches you to have to learn how to dip the nose down to get a transition well.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
they're really, 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 really good. I'll send you some pictures and you can see. But yeah, so we ended up taking 6 bikes. So I took a dirt jumper, Connor took a dirt jumper, and then we both had trail bikes. Lauren had a trail bike, and then Cam had a his mountain bike. And then Moab has a set of dirt jumps at it as well as a skate park. So it ended up being super useful having dirt jumpers the whole time we were there.
So if you went back, if you had to pick, you can only stop at Valmont or Frisco Bike Park and just pretend that it's the same amount of time either way. I know that Frisco's probably not, like it's literally not out of the way at all. I think Valmont's it's up in Boulder, isn't it? Or somewhere.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes out of the way. It's not a big deal.
Okay. But just pretend neither one of them's out of the way. Like and you could only go to one. Which one you going to?
Who am I going with? Same group?
Me. You're going with me.
All right, me and you, we're going to Frisco.
Okay. Now, same group. You're with your kids?
Valemont. So Valemont had a lot more options of places to ride and things to do for little kids. So Cam had an absolute hoot at Valemont because there's miles of like featurey single track with little bridges and little wall rides and little rock sections, and like for a 4 to 7 year old or 8 year old even that's enjoying mountain biking but not like a full-blown ripper, there is hours of stuff to enjoy out there, and there's good dirt jumps, and there's good slope style trails, and dual slalom, and a paved pump track, and a dirt pump track, and you know what I mean, like, the list goes on. So like and a monstrous skate park that we didn't even ride. But Valemont has more for kids. Um, if your kid's a ripper, Frisco is a better park, I would say. Oh, man, God, it'd be hard to even say that, but Frisco is a better experience because of where you're at. You can look at the Dillon Reservoir. It's just a gorgeous piece of property.
Okay. All right. So if you were doing this trip over, would you try to do it the same way where you hit both and stay, or would you be like, I would probably just try to get to Moab quicker? Or, I don't.
No, I would no no. It was yeah. Like part of that trip was the allure of being able to ride Frisco and Valemont both in the trip. Like that was definitely like part of those weren't side missions. That was part of the mission.
Okay. Okay. Um. So you had a t ton of bikes. I saw your borrowed truck setup before I left because I was actually at your house. Um. It seems like everything. Yeah, well, hey, wait a second. We don't even need to talk about the truck. That's not going to be very exciting. But you took Lauren and she rode.
Yeah,
So, like, what
yeah.
did she, if she's around, you could put her on speaker, but if she's not, that's fine. What did she enjoy? Like, what, as from of course, she rides. I know Lauren, I mean, I've seen Lauren ride. Like, she's a pretty good rider. But what was it she enjoyed the most, or at least from a riding perspective?
So she rode Valemont and enjoyed Valemont because the slopestyle runs are fun. She ended up, I'd say, getting stuck with, but like right now when we go riding as a family, unfortunately we kind of end up at this divide and conquer thing, which is either Lauren trying to keep up with Connor actually, or her riding with Cam. And so since we were only getting short visits, I rode with Connor and showed Connor all the big stuff, and she rode with Cam. But she rode Valemont and enjoyed it. She rides the slopestyle parks there, the little featurey, skills areas there, and enjoys it. By the time we were coming back from Moab and hit Frisco, she was just done and tired overall. So she got the bike out and made one lap down the biggest slope style, not biggest, the tallest slope style line. It's like a blue slope style line. It really, really fun. But she did it once and it covers a pretty good amount of vert. And so she was done after that and went and got coffee. So she was just tired from the trip overall, being stuck with the in-laws for, 7 to 8 days at that point, and didn't ride. But she enjoyed that. We also did ride Slick Rock. And so we got to ride Slick Rock and Moab, which is like the Moab institutional trail. We rode the Slick Rock practice loop with Cam. Cam rode pretty much everything. He walked a couple sections down and pushed most of the climbs. Connor pedaled all of the climbs and just hammer fisted his way up everything. And Lauren did her best to keep up with Connor. Connor is riding exceptional right now.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I see this Slick Rock loop. Um, doesn't look too terrible climb. Like it's 5 miles,
They're all just
535 feet of ascending. So it's very, seems like the up down is very like Ozark Trailish, like about 100 feet a mile.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, it's very punchy too. So all the climbs are very, very steep. I mean, it's definitely like a over the bars, like trying to manage traction for climbing. They're not slow burn climbs. Everything is a sprint climb, like a super punchy sprint climb, which
so
was,
what if I had a wife who did not care to ride? Is Moab, is there much to do in Moab besides ride?
oh yeah, yeah. Moab. So Moab downtown is 15 minutes away from Arches National Park, which we made as a part of our trip, and 30 minutes away from Canyonlands National Park, which is we made a part of the trip. So we did two national parks while we were there as well.
Okay, cool. All right.
And both of those are absolutely worth a visit. So Canyonlands was incredible. Canyonlands, I would say if you had to choose between visiting Grand Canyon or Canyonlands Park in Utah, I would say Canyonlands Park in Utah. I've been to both. And Arches is a more interactive park, much more hiking. So you drive, park, pick an arch you want to see. There's 30 arches on this enormous chunk of property, and you hike out a 1 mile hike, a 3 mile hike, a 2 mile hike, a 1 mile hike, and you kind of do whatever you want to go see the arches that you want to see. Super
Okay.
awesome.
Okay. I'm scheming here, I'm scheming. I'm getting info, trying to scheme out my future. Ryan, you've been totally silent this podcast. So I don't know if you're just soaking it in or if you've got anything you want to know that we haven't
And I'm
talked
just
about.
taking it all in. Just, it does sound amazing. I'm stoked for you, Kyle, that Connor got to be a part of the whole enchilada with you. And I'm not surprised on how well he did. Like, I think Clinton and I both can agree. Like, you don't give that kid. I know you're just humble in how good your kid is, but your kid is really good on a bike. So I'm not surprised at that. And I'm just stoked that the way it worked out. Like, I know it wasn't your original plan, and you wanted to have some of us boys there with you, but man, it's pretty cool that he got to ride it with you, and then probably get like a little bit of some positive influence from some kids close his age that are rippers. It sounds like so that was cool. It also just makes me kind of go, man, I got to get my kid riding more. I
Dude,
just because it sounds fun, and Tucker's getting more to that spot where he's enjoying riding more and more. So not to segue or not that we have to segue, but future topic soon on next podcast. Just about my lack of riding now and what I got to focus on in the next couple of years. And Clinton kind of alluded to that with himself. So
yeah, no,
just cool.
because
I'm happy
at
for you.
that size, at that size though, it's so hard. Like Tucker's size, Tucker's a little bigger than Cam is, and it's a lot of suffering. You know what I mean? Like in terms of
Yeah.
fun versus suffering, it's a lot of suffering. Like it just is. It's difficult to mountain bike when you're that small. And Connor just championed through it at a young age to where he got very proficient at it. I actually couldn't believe it how proficient he was at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we
And
need to
you got to,
find us a big long trail that you can shuttle to the top of that is truly like we just need one that's like a 0.5% grade for like 20 miles just down like
Yeah,
yeah.
you know
speak of the devil actually. So Connor just joined us here for this podcast. Connor, what how good was the whole enchilada?
It was fun, but hard
well
ish.
that's pretty much
we,
it.
we were actually we were just talking about how impressed we were at your ability to suffer through hard things to do fun stuff.
I need to.
We're about ready to leave in a second.
No, good job, Connor.
Thanks.
Not really. Well, I really wanted to hear about it. Like Ryan and I have been hinting at, and I don't know if Kyle will be on it with us. Of course, Kyle might be pit crewing a little bit there. We will do a BT Epic preview coming up. Spoiler alert, it's going to be dry and dusty like the last 2 years have been. It's what it's looking like. It might be even warmer. I just looked at the 10-day forecast for Steelville, and I'm a little concerned about hydration in a way that I have not been in the past. So
Tell
Last
you
I
what,
saw was
man, that
like 80s Clinton.
dude,
Steelville
that's
said
gonna
high
be
of 77, which isn't
Okay.
terrible. I mean, that's cooler than it like any day we've ridden so far
but man,
overall.
that dude, that's a miserable day in the 80s. Like to try to think about racing that in the mid 80s
It
would
won't.
be
Well, it'll be in the upper 50s probably when we start and be in the mid 70s when we finish. So that's all right. That's not bad.
Oh,
Um, that's
that's
what we're
doable.
used to. I mean, it's been that warm like every big ride I've done, and so if it as long as that first number is a 7 and not an 8, I'm not worried about it. Um, plus it probably won't get to that point until noon. So probably the first 2 or 3 hours won't be too bad anyway. And you don't have to worry about being, I mean, I don't like being cold. So it'll be nice to maybe start and not be like freezing right off the bat.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll see though. That could all change. What I'm really hoping for is some rain, but it's not looking promising. Um, I rode last weekend. We're already doing the podcast for next week, but like horses were on the Three Sisters and had the climbs like churned up. So you're just like spinning out on the Three Sisters, like not ideal, not ideal, but we'll save some of that. So yeah, thanks everybody for listening. If you have questions about Kyle's trip and the whole enchilada, what we need to do is you guys need to post questions on this. If you see it on Facebook, you can email us at oksnmtb@gmail.com. We like to get questions and we will answer them. So, uh, boys, thanks for jumping on. Sorry, everybody, it's been so many months, but we didn't want to just do a podcast just for the heck of it with nothing to say. So here we are.
I just want to do I want to do one more quick shout out to my buddy Cliff and his two boys. So his 13-year-old Griffin ended up running the whole enchilada in 3 hours and 15 minutes, which is a top 200 out of 5,000 documented times on the whole enchilada as a 13-year-old. And I think he's 65 pounds. And then the 7-year-old on a 20-inch Talon ended up running the whole enchilada, including porcupine, both upper and lower, in 4 hours and 7 minutes. So we were calling it quits and opting for the bailout option not too much longer before he was finished with the entire trail. He couldn't have been any more than 45 pounds.
Wow.
It's there. Talk about impressive riding and impressive kids. The Pinto project is kind of an unreal thing what those kids are doing out in those mountains on mountain bikes right now.
Nice. All right. Well, shout out those guys. Google them. The Pinto
Yep.
Project, mountain biking. I'm sure there's probably if you Google the Pinto Project, there's probably a bunch of old cars
I was gonna
Yeah,
in
no,
the
say,
there
driving
probably is.
store.
tell me they have
So
like
it's
some roof racks on an old Pinto, and that's how
no,
they get to the trails. Please tell me that.
no, man, no. They're the little camper and an older Toyota truck. That's the real deal, man. They ride so much. It's unreal to see the solo rides those kids are putting up in the San Juans. It's pretty crazy. So. All right, well, hey guys, thank you so much for asking me and giving me an hour monologue on my trip. That it was fun to talk about and brag about my kids. So I appreciate you boys, and I'm bummed that you couldn't make it, and I know you would have if you could.
We'll try again in 2.5 years.
Right on, guys. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, boys.